Guys, listen, today we have Taylor Steele, Momentum. That literally has some of the most iconic surfers on the face of the planet.
I started making movies when I was 12. You know, surf movies were a way for, us to sort of learn about music and see what's going on with contemporary surfing. The spotlight was shifted from those older guys to Kelly, and then my movie was like, the eyes were on it.
What is cannabis doing for you?
Put some dog tags together, man.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to PV Unfiltered. And yes, Tommy, we are still the number one. I probably think the only number one, and actually the only cannabis podcast in the U.S.
That's right.
And I say it all the time. Oh shit! You get that?
Man, we went twice.
That's because of the guests that we have on today.
That's right.
Guys, listen, today we have Taylor Steele. And for those of you that don't know him, you're going to. But in the surf community and actually in some of the musician side of it too, you will know who this guy is. And I was really fortunate to kind of idolize this guy for a lot of years. And I'm not going to put numbers on it because we both agree that we can't do math. But the fact is that I grew up in this world of this guy's videos. And also, following around all the stuff. I'm not going to say that I'm a fucking creeper, but if you haven't seen Momentum, you're not a surfer. I think that's true.
It depends how old you are. Yeah.
Well, it does. It really doesn't. I think anybody that's put a foot on a board. So what a great honor, man. Seriously, and so lucky that I met you through a good friend, Petey. And the fact that you're going to come on here and we're going to talk about your tequila, which is, once again, I'm a tequila drinker and I'm honest about this stuff. So the night that I was able to partake of some of this, I can tell you this, it is definitely in the top of the top.
Oh, so, well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk some stories.
We'll get back to that because we got a lot of stuff to go through. First and foremost, once again, thank you for coming on. And I just want to ask, in the beginning of this, there's a movie that I don't know if too many people know too much about it, and it's One Step.
Yeah.
So is that the first movie?
Well, that's the first one I went out to sell. I started making movies when I was 12, and it would just be me and my friends. And then, One Step Beyond is the one that I made that you're talking about. And that one, I got in my car and drove around and tried to sell that one to all the surf shops around California.
So everybody, it's true for everything. People see later on like, oh, this guy's done this, and this. Now, oh, super easy. But the reality is it's just like anything else, dude. First of all, I can tell you that there wasn't a surf shop that I didn't go into that didn't have this fucking movie being played on the screen. I mean, literally, I think in one day I was at 2 or 3 surf shops and it was on the screens on their TVs.
Yeah,
it didn't just magically appear there.
Well, I was just doing it for fun, and then when I wanted to, hopefully have a career making surf movies, there was only a couple people doing it at the time. I just loaded up my car with a bunch of VHS tapes and drove to Santa Cruz. Got to like a payphone, ripped out the yellow pages of all the surf shops. And just
so we're talking two things that a lot of people won't even know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
That's VHS and phone books.
And then I had a Thomas Brothers map thing.
Oh fuck! We threw a Thomas Brothers in there.
And just went to every surf shop I could find and just walked in the door, being a shy kid, 17 years old, and just tried to sell my movies.
So just so you know, Thomas Brothers, that's not like a restaurant or a local place. That's an actual book that we used to have that literally had maps and the way to chart everything in every single county in California.
Yeah.
It was called Thomas Brothers.
Yeah, it was a
thanks,
different
Taylor.
world. Different
I have to
world
explain
back
all
then.
this.
Yeah,
I'll have to put all this in post.
yeah.
What is what?
It was just a different time. I'm trying to sort of lay the land. Of
Now
this
keep
being-
in mind, he stopped at a phone booth.
yeah. All of it was different. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So back then it was, surf movies were a way for, us to sort of learn about music and see what's going on with the contemporary surfing. And so I was in love with that whole side of surfing and wanted to sort of try to do it. And yeah. And, back
But
then,
you worked your ass off.
yeah, well, it wasn't easy, but I wanted to do it so bad that I was going to distribute it myself, I was going to market it myself, and I was going to, show up at the surf shops and sell it. And I wasn't too big, or it was, the opportunity wasn't really obvious,
So when you got to Momentum, like just kind of brief, how did that come about? Because that literally has some of the most iconic surfers on the face of the planet.
Yeah, well, making that movie, One Step Beyond was the first one I made, and I went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and I shot the rest of it in San Diego. And I didn't sell that many to surf shops. They'd buy one or two here, but not enough to really cover my overhead.
Right.
And luckily, probably a shop in Huntington Beach, Huntington Surf and Sport, a Japanese distributor came in there, found the movie, and then bought like 1,000 copies. And so that
Dude, when that happened, you had to just been like, what the hell?
I was like, okay, well, then I have enough to make the next one, which was Momentum. And so I'm going to go to Hawaii for 3 months and really give it a go. And if it doesn't work, then I'll just go back to college.
So let's talk. So you sell 1,000 copies, or that happens. What type of money at that time are we talking about that allows you to now take off for 3 months and go shoot probably one of the, I mean, it is one of the most iconic surf movies around.
Look, my camera was probably $3,000 at the time. Like my total costs were probably $10,000, and One Step Beyond, we sell the movies for $15, $5 for the the production costs, and then so $10,000 profit from that. And so that was enough to make the next movie.
I mean, you can't even start with that right now.
Yeah. So it was just me. I did everything, filmed it, edited, did everything. So that $10,000 got me covered to make the next one. So,
but then also in that, you've got the bands that come in and put the music in, and you're supporting that side of it too. So that, that adds to the whole atmosphere of what it was that you were creating.
Yeah, like my favorite surfers were Tom Curran and Mark Occhilupo and Martin Potter, and they were established, and they didn't want any part of, they didn't know who I was or wanted to shoot with some unknown kid. And so I started filming with my friends who were the up-and-comers, Rob Machado, and then he introduced me to Kelly and all these guys that were unknown.
Kelly Slater.
Yeah.
I mean,
nobody knew who these guys were, and so I started filming with them. And then when I released Momentum, it was the year that Kelly got on Baywatch. Kelly won the world title, and all of a sudden the spotlight was shifted from those older guys to Kelly, and then my movie was like the eyes were on it.
Right.
So it was lucky.
It's just crazy how things line up on that. And now, what was your part as far as, because I know Blink-182, Pennywise, a bunch of that. I mean, your affiliation went deeper than just the surf movie.
Yeah. So the movie, that was the surfing, was those up and comers, and then all the surf movies at the time were really like beautifully shot and with slow music, like reggae and just cruising music. And so I was into punk rock, and I got introduced by Greg Browning to Pennywise, and then I found this band Sprung Monkey from around here. And then I found them at like a local record store at Lou's, and then there was Unwritten Law and Blink, and all those bands were from this area. We just sort of started hanging out, and it just sort of,
the collab was perfect.
Yeah, punk rock music was from around here, at least the version that I used in the movies.
Right.
And so it was just Pennywise would come stay at my house, and we'd play pool and for dishes, and then like Blink was sort of just starting, so I got to meet them when they were still playing like house parties with 10 people there, and so then.
How great is that?
And so it was just a real natural scene, punk rock music, surfing, skateboarding. It was all sort of happening in San Diego at that early 90s.
So at what point do you recognize, over this period of years, what type of effect you've had on people? You seem like a really humble person, and you are humble because to sit and shoot the waves that people surfed and you weren't out there.
Yeah.
That's humble in itself. But I mean, it's, even like being at the party the other night and listening to people as, everybody's talking and whatnot. Just to know that you've had that effect on people.
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it is one, it was the right place, right time, trying to capture what was my interest genuinely and like my passions and sort of like capture that and relay in it. So it was almost just sort of, I don't feel like I had any effect on it, more so than just capturing what was happening. So someone else would have captured it if I wasn't there, is my sort of mindset.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you may be right, but I mean, nobody else really captured it the way that you did. And not so much as that, because yes, that was your passion, but how about the fact of when you sit in a room with people and they talk about specific things in these movies that, that changed their lives, talking about the chef.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how they'd sit and watch Momentum and they'd go out and fucking surf. And, it was like that got people,
yeah.
And back in the day when I was trying to go big wave and whatnot, and you're watching Monster Mavericks when that came out.
Yeah.
It's like all these little things that.
Yeah. Like back then, I guess like surf movies were part of how you sort of spent your time. You'd watch surf movies with your friends, and you'd gravitate towards that music or that,
Right.
that time. And
it was a vibe.
It was a bonding experience. And so that's part of it, just the way we appreciate music and movies are different now than what it was in the early 90s. So, I'm grateful for having that sort of effect. I feel like everything was more exaggerated back then. And so in the sense of you waited for a surf movie to come out.
Right.
You don't do that now.
No, we don't. We're just, everything's just fucking out of hands touch. It's like if it's not there in 2 seconds,
yeah,
it's not ever going to be there, or somebody else is going to fill that spot.
And it's the same with music. You'd wait for an album to drop, and
then
but that's not the way it is now. So I'm grateful for that time, but I'm not like stuck in that time either. I know that we just we treat things differently now.
No, but I mean, the fact is that you were, you're fighting this, man. I can see it. You were a part of creating that energy that came from surfing. When even for myself, and I'd walk into a shop, and you would find 4 or 5 guys just standing there watching, and there's been thousands of movies.
Yeah.
And there's some that hit and some that don't, but
yeah,
your movies are like, you can see it. People fucking.
You're just so modest, man. Just say I'm a badass. All right? That's it.
It's
but I mean, I'm just saying, like, it really is. It is pretty cool, and
yeah.
And I just wonder, like, in people, what does that mean? And I look at it, because not that I'm a Taylor Steele of cannabis, because that's not the case, but I feel like just like you, like our timing in this industry has been impeccable.
Yep.
I think it could have been a little bit later. I could have gotten past being raided and going to jail for a night, but even still, look at where we're at now. And I do get it. And I think sometimes, like I tell my son, like sometimes you got to just stop and take, even just take a few days and just think about this stuff, because it's a huge accomplishment. Yeah. And I just wonder, do you do that? Do you ever just like take it in?
I think I take it in now when I see my friends from that time, that we all sort of like came through this journey together.
Right.
So when I see Kelly, or if I see some of the band guys like Blink, and we catch up. We're able to just sort of like have this moment without even saying anything,
Right.
just like of going, yeah.
Pretty cool.
We got on the other side of that, and that was cool. That was fun, and we were lucky. We were in the right timing, but we were just genuinely following our passions, and that's why we got there. And I feel like that energy, people gravitate towards that, and they want to be around somebody that's really genuine with their love.
Right. And I was watching speaking of friends, I mean, obviously, on that side of the world, your friend list is, it's endless in that way. And I think when you do watch like Momentum, I mean, these guys that really got a big show out of your movie. I honestly, everybody was going somewhere regardless. I just think that the way you portrayed it was so raw. And for these guys, I think it was just a huge step up for people looking at them.
Yeah, you know what? Thinking back on it, I think it's sort of like the Instagram before Instagram. It was like a home movie, and people were like looking for that sort of like behind just the performance,
right,
or of the band or the surfer,
right. So so you look at these guys that were on there. I mean, it's an A list of surfers that were just up and coming. Your movie didn't change their talent. It just exposed that in a way that people would be sitting in a surf shop and go, who the fuck is that? Because back then, the only way you knew was through Surfer Magazine. There was we didn't have what we have today. Yeah.
Like what was fun is we actually would all go on trips together. We'd watch the footage. It was almost like a team environment, and I was the coach on the team.
Right.
And we would analyze things and break it down and go like, you can work on this for the next part, so it was very collaborative and fun in that sense. And
but everybody was just having a great time. And you could see that.
We were having a great time, and we were working hard,
right.
And so it was like both of those worlds is like what I love.
And, not to blow it up anymore, but Kelly Slater's not a bad guy to have on your first movie. And
well, he in reality, like his star was so bright that he sort of pulled everybody along and elevated everybody's exposure level. And, we hung on his coattails for a while, and then we earned our own stripes later on.
Once again, it's not a bad place to be, especially from, like you said, it's this young kid that nobody was like, oh, I don't trust this guy behind a camera, or, on that level. Once again, I mean, I grew up surfing. My family, my dad, right out here, Mission Beach, the whole deal, and kind of went from there. And one of your guys, or one of your buddies, I'm really curious to see where he's at these days, if he's still in contact with Archie.
Oh, Archie?
Yeah.
I don't keep up with him that much. I see his son Ford around, and he's doing some art stuff now.
Right.
But I hear he's back in San Clemente. He was living in Hawaii for a long time. Yeah, I haven't caught up with him lately.
I have a crazy story, because I used to surf Costa Rica down in Playa Negra. And one day, Transworld, we got out in the morning, and it was fucking big. And there was like 4 or 5 guys out, and a bunch of people standing on the shore, and there's some lenses out there and whatnot, and two guys in the water shooting film. And I was like, well, I mean, we're going. So I had a buddy from Michigan that went out. He just paddled out. He'd never seen anything like it, so he just sat over on the side. And I remember as I was paddling out, you've surfed, obviously, Playa Negra, right?
Yeah.
So, paddling out, and this guy takes in way deep on the rock out there. And I was just like, the fuck is that? And he just top and bottom nonstop. And then he comes up, pulls a 360, lands, and then kicks out right where I'm paddling. And he looks back, and he's like, pretty fucking bad, huh? And it was Matt.
Yeah.
And I surfed with those guys for about 4 or 5 hours. And it's one of those trips that I get chills even thinking about it, because for normal Joe, me, that doesn't come that often. And my buddy sat in the water the whole time. He never caught one wave. And I was out with these guys. There was 3 or 4 guys, towards the end, and it was just a train. It was just nonstop. And he was just a fucking character. And I'd seen, stuff in Surfer and whatnot. Yeah. So I wasn't. I was not getting out of the water until he did.
Well, when you see a pro in the water, you realize that the gap's a lot further than you think.
Yeah.
When you watch them on video, you go, well, I could do that. I could do that.
Yeah.
But then in
That's
real
me.
life, when you see the speed and what they're doing.
It's I in my lifetime will never really, truly, do what a board is supposed to do, especially now. But even back in the day, and these guys, you guys have a whole different aspect of like you said, that difference. Yeah. I'm the guy that's sitting here going, this is, I'm looking at it thinking that's what I look like.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You really see the difference when they're out there. Yeah.
Nothing like that. So I was curious about that. And then Rob Machado, another one of those guys. And I was fortunate to meet him actually at a surf store up in Encinitas, and just random, and talked to him for about 5-10 minutes. Fucking one of the sweetest guys ever. And just, so natural,
Yeah. He's out of anybody, he's helped my career the most. I met him when I was 12, and he never seen himself on video before. So I was like the first time he got to see himself on video, and he just really used the video as a tool and help smooth out his style and just improve his maneuvers. And he introduced me to Kelly. He introduced me to all the guys that I became lifelong friends with. But, like our sort of energy and movies have changed over the years, and where he was changed as well. And we've been in lucky sync for last.
Just kind of stuck together in the whole thing.
Yeah. Like when I would be like, oh, I'm going to make this kind of movie, he was already in that same headspace as too. And then like, we just sort of went through this like nice synergy for the last 30 years where we're still working together and still doing stuff.
So early on when you were doing this stuff, and really obviously your heart and passion still in it, but at that time it's got to be like herding cats. You're talking about, at that time, 8, 10, 12 young fucking surfers.
Look, Kelly is painfully hard to maneuver and get him to do what you want. He just does what he wants,
right?
And you just sort of like.
But that's okay on him, right?
Yeah, but everybody else works hard and they're very collaborative. But Kelly is like a herding cats, like he'll just be, the waves will be good. He'll be on his phone or he'll be sleeping in, and then
just do his thing.
And then when he goes out, it's all worth it. So it's just one of those.
You're just like, all right, okay, you guys, all right. Kelly's in the water.
I've had multiple times where I would fly to the location and he wouldn't even show up. So it's just like, he's just an X factor. But when he shows up, it's the best stuff.
But a nice guy.
Oh, he's one of my closest friends. So, you just sort of put up with things that are different with him because what he's realized is he's getting pulled from everybody all over all the time. And so he's just really conscious of how valuable time is to him. And so he has like 8 options at all times, whether it's going to the coolest party in LA or golfing with a celebrity or surfing this wave, 10 other waves.
Tiger Woods of surfing.
Exactly.
And actually probably beyond that.
And so he just sort of will wait to the last minute to make his final decision on these things and see what's the best of all those options. And so sometimes that works in your favor and sometimes it doesn't.
So sometimes you just have to go out there and kind of surf on your own.
I'll show up and then I get the waves, and then if he makes it. Yeah.
Who else would you say would be just like your top guy to shoot and kind of hang out with?
Yeah, like me and Rob has probably done the most trips, over the years, but I there's different surfers for different kinds of waves that I really get inspired by. Like for the 90s, I was all about performance. And so Kelly and Shane Dorian and Rob were the top guys. And then I got into sort of location-based, like going to India or Vietnam or Iceland. And so there's different guys that are maybe better for those kind of trips. And like Dan Malloy or Dave Rostovich. And that's sort of like they're great travelers and they're just easy to go with the flow and they want to do that. And so that comes off on the screen. And then over the last sort of like 10 years, I've been working more on storytelling. And so, so those, I have different people fit best for those. But that sort of brought me back to working with the original crew that I started with.
That's got to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Are you doing anything with the younger stuff now? Like, are you
The younger guys?
Yeah, are you focused on any of that, or is it?
There's always projects sort of in the works and talks, but yeah, I've worked with John, who's now not the young guy, but they're, you know, I like to tap into just guys that are the best at what they do and have a good attitude.
Right.
Because like my time is valuable to me now. I see it more as I get older, and I don't want to be around sort of like prima donnas.
There's a lot of them out there. We find that, especially in the cannabis side of it, there's a lot of them out there. So what's next?
Well, like the filmmaking side, I went through making surf movies, then I started doing commercials for big brands, and then now I do documentary stuff. I do stuff for National Geographics. I do this series called Save This, and then you put an animal name behind it. So we did Save This.
Well, that's cool.
Save This Rhino was the first one, and then we did Save This Shark. And so Save the Shark was with Mick Fanning, so that came full circle to the surfing world.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit. I'm excited to see that.
And then Save This Rhino, we used a cricket player, a famous cricket player from London, to be our sort of star. And it's just so, if you save these keystone animals, you save a wider range of animals. And so there's certain animals that get more attention. And so it's picking those animals that will, you bring the attention to them, but then you save all these
It ends up saving other.
Yes.
So the Mick Fanning thing, which most people in this world will know, that Mick Fanning was actually attacked by a shark in a contest. It's on, you can see it.
Yep.
I was actually watching it. And the ironic thing is that you got him to swim with tigers.
Yeah, we swam with great whites in cages, and then we free dove with tiger sharks that were like 15 feet.
I think I would have rather done it the opposite direction. I mean, just from my knowledge of tigers versus great whites, but
yeah, like we started with the smallest sharks, and then we went all the way up to the biggest and the most dangerous. And so we, started swimming with stingrays, and then we went up, to like nurse sharks, and then we went to great hammerheads, and then we went to tiger sharks, and then we went to great whites. And I would say out of all those, at least where we went with the great whites, I would not swim with those.
Really?
No.
Where were you, in the Channel Islands, or?
We were down in southern Australia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course you wouldn't be here. You'd be
and
somewhere warm.
There was, well, that's cold down there, but it's like this island where thousands of seals migrate to every year. So these sharks are there on a hunting sort of stage, and you just, when they're in that stage, you don't want to be anywhere near them. You want them when they're migrating and sort of just cruising through, but not.
And you were right there.
We were there, and we were in these cages that were like 80 feet under the water, sort of swaying back and forth. And the great whites would come and they would analyze the cable, and they were like looking at how to get to us. They were very, they were very scary.
It's like a hot dog on a stick.
Yeah, they were just like, how do I get in there? They were testing. They would test the cable. They would test the doors. Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah. No, I've done a little bit of shark stuff here, some stuff in Costa Rica, nothing like that. I mean, I think the biggest I saw was like a 6.5 foot mako. Yeah. And he wasn't testing anything. He had no, he was just grabbing his fish. But I couldn't imagine, that size of a shark, and then looking at that, and he's literally wanting to get in somehow and eat you.
Yeah,
and now with Mick Fanning, how did that go? I mean,
yeah, he, like we did the tiger sharks first. So when we got to the great whites, it was like we were much more at ease. But the tiger sharks so me and Mick have this history where I made a movie with him, and on that movie, I took him in, and I was in charge of his itinerary for 14 days. So I took him to 7 countries, and it was sort of to take him out of his comfort zone and go around the world. And what we did on that is we went to Rwanda, we went hiking with the silverback gorillas, and then we went running with the bulls. And the whole time was like, he would only do it if I did it. I'm like, I'm supposed to be behind the camera. He's like, I'm not doing it unless you're next to me.
So what'd you do?
So I ran with the bulls with him, and
you have somebody else doing the camera?
I had another guy with the camera capturing it. So
like, fucker, I don't want to run with these bulls. I just want you to do it.
Yeah. So then when it came to this project, he's like, I'll do it because I know you're going to be right next to me. And so I was down at the bottom, with these tiger sharks with them because
And there's no cages on this one.
no cages. And so the night before, I was stressed that, he's got his fiance that's pregnant, and I'm just like,
you're not stressed for yourself. You're stressed.
I'm
for
stressed
this guy.
that if something happened to him,
Right, you're responsible.
I'm responsible. It was like I invited him to do it, so that's where my stress was. I'm like,
go ahead and sign here.
Yeah. So yeah, and when we got down there, we just wanted one tiger shark, but the guy down there was excited and he kept chumming, and so we had five tiger sharks.
We only wanted one.
He's like, pretty much, if you chum a little bit, you'll get one. But he just was like,
this guy's excited.
He's excited, and we had 5 tiger sharks, 1 bull shark, and 1 great hammerhead, all coming in from every direction. So then we were literally pushing them off with poles, like, it was
At what
intense.
point did you kind of look at the guy and just be like, dude, enough is enough? Like, we're good? We're good now?
Yeah. He kept
Was it when he came at you with the knife and put a little nick in your leg?
Yeah, so it got intense. Like, that was one of those things where it was almost like skydiving, where afterwards we're like, all right,
That was
we're
cool.
not doing that again.
That was cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
We're gonna go.
We're done with that.
We're gonna go back to the gorillas.
Yeah, exactly.
Even that in itself, the gorillas must have been crazy. I've had a friend of mine that went and did that, and it was a 2-week trip, and they hiked every day to only get one day that they spent with the gorillas.
Yeah.
He's got video that's, I mean, this is raw shit. This isn't like in a cage somewhere, or they go over here and they're like, they were hiking every day, miles and miles. And he was like, it was brutal. Yeah. The bugs, everything they were dealing with. But then the one day when they finally crossed the path, or however it was, I don't know if it was the same for you.
Yeah.
The video that he showed me was unbelievable. These things, once again, it's like you see them, but he showed where one just kind of had brushed him. Like they were in a pack of about 15 gorillas. And one literally came and sat right next to him. And he sat just like that almost. And he could see on his face, like at that point, you could see in his eyes, like he was questioning everything that took place getting him to there. But then, afterwards, the experience was just one of those lifetime experiences. But he said just the touch from the gorilla was, it was unbelievably frightening, but also got to understand the power that they have.
Yeah. That experience was pretty crazy too. We were lucky. They said it's like a 2 to 8 hour hike, but they're like, we'll find it for you that day, because we had a limited time. We just came in for 2 days. So we hiked, and it was like only 2 hours. We got lucky, and then we get there, and so the rangers tell us what's going to happen. They say, basically, you're not allowed into these. They only visit the gorillas for an hour each day. They sort of track them and try to find them, and then they only visit them for a little bit. They try not to disturb their normal sort of habitat. But they said they need to allow us in, so you need to grunt and like a gorilla, and then they'll respond back and let you in. So we were doing that for like 20 minutes, just sort of grunting on the side, like a gorilla, to have them let us in. And then
did Mick look at you just like,
we're just like,
bro, what are we doing?
We're like, they're not going to really respond on this. And then they finally did, and they allowed us in. And the ranger goes, okay, there's one king here that hooks up with all the girls, and the other guys that are there, they're there, and they're waiting for the king to sort of fall asleep or be distracted. Then they'll hook up with the girls on the side. Shit. But if they get
that's the friends you don't want at your party.
Yeah. But if they get caught, they're kicked out. So it's a real thing. They're kicked out. And so we saw one that was like kicked out. He's off to the side. He's like sort of like
fucking masturbating.
He's all bummed over there. And so we go in, and then they go like, when the gorillas are coming by, don't block their path. Give them a space to go. And so you scoot to the side, allow them to go by, and don't run. And so just sort of basic sort of things.
You got all these things.
All these things
are
going
through your mind, and you're worried about a fucking shark.
And so then they're like, okay, don't get too close to him either. And so we're like, all right. So we're trying to get these shots, and we're sort of from a distance. But as cameramen, you know, like you sort of put danger and away went to get the shot. So as we get,
some would call that, I'm not saying it in the wrong way, but some would call that stupidity.
yeah, you know, in hindsight it is. Yeah. And so we're there and we start like getting our shots from far away and or whatever. And then so we start scooting closer and closer and we start getting our shots. And then pretty soon we're like right next to them and they're grabbing our lenses and because they're seeing the reflection and they're trying to pull on our cameras. And we get these amazing shots of Mick. So Mick, then the whole crew wants to go film that one solo guy by himself because he's climbing a tree or doing something cool. So they all leave and I go, well, I'll just sit here and record audio. So I'm by myself recording audio and the ranger's watching both of us and they're pretty far now away from me. So I'm there and then all of a sudden I see a male and a female sneak down and they go down the thing.
You got it?
And I'm like, just with audio, I'm like recording. I'm like, oh, and then they have sex. They're like,
you've got gorilla porn.
just audio of it, yes. And so then I'm watching that and I'm watching the king. He's like looking the other way and not seeing it. And then they finish like 20 seconds later and the female comes up and sits like 10 feet away from me looking at me. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. And then I look down at the male, and the male sees that, and he starts coming up the hill right at me, like just storming up the hill, like sort of in a fast walk. Sort of.
Not the king, the one that just got laid.
Yeah, the one that just got laid. He's sort of like being protective of this. It felt like a bar scene. But he starts like walking up and like sort of like fronting on me. And so I start to...
Don't look at him.
I start to scoot so he can go by because he's coming...
He ain't going by.
He's coming right at me, and I'm just like scooting, and the ranger goes, don't run. Don't run.
Don't run.
And
like, fuck.
And he just,
I can't even feel my legs right now.
He just him saying that and the gorilla coming at me just makes me like go in this real passive. I was like the most passive.
There's gotta be video of this.
And the gorilla comes right up on me, like almost on top of me, and then turns and blocks my view of the girl and sits down in front of me.
No shit.
And his back's just like this, and then he starts leaning back.
Did you? Did you start rubbing his shoulders?
Like I could have.
You start rubbing his shoulders and shit?
I would have, but I could have been like this on him, and I'm just like sort of leaning further back. And then basically the ranger goes, okay, you could go. And I like slid out of there.
Fucking Speedy Gonzalez.
But it was
like
like
the Roadrunner out of there.
It was a full bar scene. Like just like he blocked my view.
Did anybody get video of that?
No,
Nothing?
they didn't see it. They didn't see it.
That's got to be one of those ones. I mean,
yeah.
I can tell because the friend of mine, the look on his face in the video was like literally like he was just before death.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't think nobody really truly understands. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like probably like paddling out at pipe. You know, I've never done it. But it's got to be, you know, other places that I've paddled out. Like I was out at Mavericks. I mean, dude, you find out where you shouldn't be really fast.
I felt like the most passive little like
that look, you know, when you're paddling out and you're looking at this fucking 20 foot and you're just like, no, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's the same look that this guy had. And he's a big surfer too, but that's the look that he had. When I saw the video, I was literally in tears watching because I've never seen this guy like look so timid and so frail and literally like death was sitting at his doorstep. And just like you said, you know, they were like, you know, don't look in their eyes, you know.
And all those things.
I go, dude, just tell me what was going on in your head. He goes, all I was thinking about was I had all these things that they were telling me. Don't run is one. Like, don't move and don't look him in the eyes. And he looked like he was instantly a quadriplegic because he just like the thing started coming. He's like,
yeah, I was the most. I was like felt like a little doll. Like I was just as passive.
And he said the guy was like, you need to if that's the what's happening. You need to literally just collapse like into a submissive ball.
Yeah, I was so submissive. I was like, he
so
could have picked me up and taken me away and just like went to the things. He's like,
as he's walking up,
little toy. Yeah.
You're my bitch now. We're going to the jungle.
Totally.
No, he's like, I'm taking you down where she was.
I'm like, Mick.
He's over there. He's going.
It could easily happen. It was so scary.
But that was the look that my buddy had.
Yeah.
Was that look, and I'd never seen that look on his face. And he goes, "Dude, I can't even explain it to you. Like,
Yeah.
I there was nothing that was ever going to prepare me for what took place on that mountainside." And they were on like this really cool, kind of a big ledge in a jungle.
Yeah.
There was no paths of anything.
No,
they were
it's
fucking.
the same.
This was raw.
It's just jungle on a mountain.
Yeah. And so they were in like this kind of a ledge, you know, in some way. And then the gorillas, you could see them starting to come in. Yeah. And as they came, once one came in, they all started coming in. Then they were like just sitting around everybody and whatnot. But this big, giant fucking guy came right through him and sat right next to him. And he just like the look he's sitting here. You gotta, I don't know how much, 800 pound or whatever the hell they weigh.
They're massive.
And he's sitting next to him, you know, and this gorilla's sitting next to him, and he's sitting. He's not looking. He's like
not looking comfortable.
No, he's not trying to look at him, you know, and you know, you have this thing sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
You know, and when I saw the video, I was like, dude, like I've seen him at the zoo and stuff, but you don't get the comparison no matter how you do
it.
They're
huge. Their backs are like so huge.
And he just said it was the most intimidating thing that he's ever experienced.
Very primal on that.
Yeah. And so for me, going back to the shark side of it, you know, you see these on TV. I've had some shark experience, but I mean, I'm talking about, you know, about the size of this table big.
Yeah.
And I've seen stuff with, you know, what you guys have that it's just, it's fucking unbelievable.
They're like 15-foot tiger sharks. And then they're
fat.
They stop growing long and then they just get thicker. They're like little VW buses.
This, my friends, is exactly how a tiger shark and a great white grows. All right? I stopped going tall. I just kind of started going this way. So I'm in the great white family. Wow. What would you say has been like that one thing in your life that you just, I would say like you're super proud of, but also just the best memory?
Well, you know, like there's just things that change you, you know, and having kids would definitely be one of those things. You know, when you, as an artist, when you make a film and that has success, sometimes that could be a real negative. It sort of takes you down a path of where you're trying to just appease your fans.
Right.
And so when you do something different again, is you get this huge satisfaction out of that. And so making another film that would be in that space. But, you know, like I think, you know, to answer your question, I look at it more on a personal level, and it's more of just having a youthful mindset. You know, when I'm 48 and I feel like I have a younger mindset than I did when I was 22. And so that's part of the thing that I really want to, you know, share.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's relative, like you're saying, even for myself. I used to always think that it was all about money, you know, and I think, and it's not to say that's not a great achievement, I guess, in some ways, because it does kind of give you, not that you're ever looking for a status, but it gives you mentally some security. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's always kind of a drive when you're looking at it.
Validation.
Yeah, validation. But I think in the last probably 5 to 6 years is when I really have realized that that's a byproduct. And the best thing, in all honesty, the best thing for me is watching people grow. And I think it's because I've gotten to a place for myself. But, you know, having, you know, 250 something employees, whenever I get a chance to take part in somebody else's achievement in some way, acknowledging and helping, dude, that's the biggest thing that I get anymore. It's kind of a weird thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. It used to be a car, it used to be that. And don't get me wrong, I still like having cars and stuff. But I really love the fact that when somebody's able to purchase a house, and like, it gets me excited.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of a weird thing. So now watching my kids, which are all in this as well, succeeding, being able to work with my kids and my son being my partner for 11 years now, and doing what we've done is, it's unbelievable. That's one of the things that I would say is the biggest thing for me in my life is being able to do that 11 years, with my son and then my other son and daughter running 2 other states.
Yeah, that's gotta be fun.
It is. Yeah. It is. And it's not without challenge, but even then, we sit back more and we talk about these things, and I'm hoping that that's the same for them too.
Yeah. I think whenever you could have that quality time, that's no longer a parent-son relationship.
Exactly.
It's you guys are equal in a capacity. That's an amazing thing to have. Like I had that with my parents. They surfed.
Right.
And so we'd go surfing. It was no longer the parent-son sort of relation.
No, it was just and that's the same thing with my kids.
Yeah.
Getting out on the boards and just leave all the other shit and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's better than me.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying that
play
side
together.
of it.
Yeah.
And to go through that process, that's, for me. I asked you the question, I answered it for myself.
Well, yeah, that's
got that, Tommy? Okay.
But yeah, that's in the same vein, really it's about sort of the connections that we have with people and the intentions that we have.
Yeah.
So those are the important things.
You find now, especially for yourself and even for me, like you said, there's prima donnas in everything. Mentally you can sort those out with no problem, but the friendships that you value more, there's no intentions.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like the other night when I met you over there and you see a group of people, you can pick out of the room who's still fighting in some way, for other things.
Yeah.
And then the other people you understand are just super stoked to be hanging out, and it doesn't matter who's got money, who doesn't have money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's been big for me, as well, because there's a tough place, which I'm sure you've gone through as well, is, your friends, because of your achievements and because of things that, you may want or however it is, it's like you kind of feel bad for having the ability and some of these things, but you've worked your ass off, to get there. Your true friends are always just there to fucking, you know what I mean? Just
they'll humble you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you need.
They tell you, listen, fucker, I don't care about that Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I know what a dickhead you are.
Yeah. Well, on that side, I don't have the same success level as like Kelly or those guys, but I know that's why we're all still so close, is because he needs that as well. We all need that
grounding,
that grounding, and sort of the friends that we know we've been through some crazy times together, and some life-changing events and tragedies and successes, but also we've just been there through over time, and that sort of trust of that is super important. But I still make new friends all the time, and you still get that same energy from other people. But I think it's like what I sort of focus on now is what's everybody's intentions, and what's my intentions first, and then and make sure it's genuine.
Right.
So
I just have to ask you, Sonny Garcia, another one of my drop dead top guys. I was fortunate to meet him through a buddy, Josh Grant. Before, everything took place. How was your relationship with Sonny?
I would, he's not somebody that I would travel with, but we would always be in the same places and hang out, and it was super close. I've worked on him with some projects in the more recent times. I did a virtual reality shoot in Hawaii, and he was the host of it all. And so he, we were close. He was a big brother to a lot of my close friends.
Right.
And so, what I see with Sonny is he was so outwardly strong and very
dude, he's a badass,
considerate, even though to a lot of people, and very not just a tough guy, but he was also very considerate and and you could feel that sort of sensitivity underneath it, but I don't think he had the right outlay of how to sort of get some of his depression and other sort of like, you know, real life problems that people get. And he didn't know how to release that, you know, like, so it's a shame, you know, like that he really got in a dark place for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one. I know, like my buddy Josh is in the motocross world. Mm-hmm. And so him and Sonny are really good friends. And it was kind of cool to see, you know, somebody on that, you know, both ends of the spectrum. And when I met him, it just once again, one of those guys that just is so genuine. And when you watch this guy surf and then you see him in person, it's kind of one of those things that you go, okay, you know, I get it. Like, this guy really is a badass.
Yeah, definitely.
And it didn't matter what size wave. It didn't matter
no.
how big the jump was.
No.
He didn't fucking care.
He was just used to having that adrenaline running at that high octane.
That's probably what it is too. Just anything on that level.
And you know, like I think about it all the time on my side of, you know, what happens when you accomplish your dreams? You know, like, how do you reset and create new dreams and new goals? And so if you can't reset it, then you're going to be living in the past, and that's not a great place to be living.
Right.
And so I don't know if that was a factor for him, but I think that's a dangerous factor for a lot of athletes that like have this huge attention and success, and then they don't know where to put that energy towards.
No, I think you're right, and it's not just in the surfing world. It's really in this is the understanding is we live this life, and then you have the person that's the 9-to-5er, and he works all of his life, and then at 65 he retires, and then he stands there like, I don't even know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
And then 8 months later he dies. You know, and then you have the people like yourself, myself, that have gone this path, but understand there's always something more exciting around the corner, and you're able to create something as you have done, right?
Yeah.
Which is?
Well, you know,
like this.
Well, the tequila, you know, like goes back to sort of that, as I was starting to look at what my next chapter was, thinking about what parts of my previous 30 years of making films that I really loved. And it was like actually getting together and having talks and hanging out at you know, like after a great day and just really connecting with friends.
Right.
And so I'm like, what would sort of bring that together? And then that sort of planted the seed of like, well, I love drinking tequila, not like in a shot and like, let's just get blind and escape our reality.
Not in a shot.
So it's meant to be sipped and enjoyed and have, and like be really connecting, not just sort of escaping, but it's be more present.
So imagine this. I walk into, what would you call that the other night? It's like a chef. I don't even know. Petey put this thing together.
Yeah, it was like a uber famous Chef Andre, and he's like doing some demonstrations on how to cook meat, like it, you know, to the highest level. He cooks for like the king of Saudi Arabia and like the uber celebrities, and so I'll go back real quick because there's a funny story, and I don't know if I would have met him at that time, but way back in the day, I was wanting to go through the Menchois and hit that surf trip. And so I booked, and there was 4 of us that booked. I was living in Oregon at the time, super stoked about going, and then the fucking bombing took place, and we got banned, we got cut, and I was on one of the boats down there. So I don't know if it would have been his boat, but nonetheless, it's like just, you know, you're that close to
it. Yeah. And I've never surfed down there. Yeah. I've traveled all over the place, and I was actually in Bali for when I got engaged and whatnot. But there was no surfing, you know. We spent some time on a boat in Thailand.
Oh, nice.
So we were down there for a couple of weeks, but it's still one of those things that it's on your bucket list. It is.
Yeah, it's hard. It takes a while to get there. You know, like even from, I was living in Bali for 6 years. Even then it takes like a 12-hour journey to get there.
Yeah,
so
it's not like you go, oh, I'm going to go down to fucking Indonesia and go certain. No, it's not that. It's a trek.
2 days and like, yeah, it's a long mission, but yeah.
So that was kind of a funny story because I when you're in that stage where, which is funny because, you're sitting here and it's like, you're looking in magazines on shit that you're doing. You know what I mean? And I was one of those people that, followed the endless summer, and literally that's how my first trip ever to Costa Rica and a lot of other places, because you're visually seeing this stuff and that's the impact that it has. Yeah. And in that case, I was really stoked, and that was like literally my lifetime trip. And I think at that time I was 26, 27, somewhere around there. So, man, I'm bummed about that.
It's still there.
More. Fuck.
It's still there.
There's no better way to get rid of that than. Yeah. Can we open one of these?
Yeah, let's open the Blanco.
I'm gonna let you open it. Oh, I'll open it. Never mind.
Yeah, go for it.
So imagine I walk into this party where I don't know a whole lot because there wasn't a whole lot said. Petey's like, dude, just come check this out.
Same to me.
That was it. So I said, all right, cool. So go check it out. I walk in the door and of course I brought a bunch of cannabis stuff from our company, and I think you were there, or no, you had just gotten there.
Yeah.
And I, instantly, I'm like, no, dude. And I know Greg,
yep.
Just through what we've done in the recent, and fucking another amazing guy. Wish I would have met him years ago, but and then I'm like, dude, and I tell Viv, my wife, I'm like, and she's 25, so it's like, I go, that's fucking Taylor Steele. And she's like, oh, you're like, okay. And then your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah, she instantly, it's like, hey, and it's like, and I'm still sitting there just going, the fucking Taylor Steele here. And so typically most people would have that, that, oh shit. And I've just never had, I've met a lot of people, a lot of stars. I have friends, that are football players and all kinds of stuff. And it was just kind of a natural thing on my part. But then I found out that this guy's got fucking tequila, and now I'll pay to be his friend. Yeah. So I tried this tequila, and I'm telling you, with anybody around, they will tell you, if I thought it wasn't any good, I would have told you something's not right. I would have been nice about it in that way. Cool. You know what I mean? Because I value feedback, and it pisses me off when people don't say something. Yep. And I'll tell you a quick story. Let's pour this real quick. I'm going to tell you a quick story about something that happened recently. So I always wanted... Cheers. And this is Solento.
That's Solento, yeah.
Yeah, Solento. So... God, it's just... Did you put sugar in it or something?
No.
It is like... Tommy, you want to try one?
Sure. So, a little...
I don't know. Should we give him one too? Fuck.
A little backstory on the tequila. Like, my background's telling stories, doing marketing for brands after I stopped doing surf movies. And
you guys only get this much.
So, I felt like that part of the company would be fine. I would be able to market it and do that. So I wanted to make sure that the taste really sort of held up to what we did on the marketing side. So I went down to Mexico, did my homework, met all these distributors or distillers down there, and then met this family that's been doing it for 3 generations, and really worked with them on the taste, and their whole process is what I fell in love with. It's all organic, but the thing is, they cut the piña down to the very core of it.
The piña. Now that, for those of you, that's not what the gorilla was putting in the other gorilla. That's a different story and a different time. The piña is...
It's the...
Like the heart?
It's the heart of the spiky sort of
the
agave plant,
right.
blue agave. And when you cut it all down, it looks like a pineapple. And then the top of most tequila brands use that whole...
They just put the whole thing in.
Yeah, but we cut ours down to the only the part that's really the good stuff.
So there's a lot of, I don't want to say waste, but to get to what you have here,
Yeah.
you have to really utilize the best of the best
It's
of the
just
plant.
using the part that you should be using, really.
Right.
And so that way you don't have to add like sugars.
So it's more expensive.
Additives. Yeah, it's definitely more expensive to do it that way. But yeah, it's really just using the core of it. And that's what should be used.
Right.
And it should be grown for 7 years. Ours grows for 7 years. Some people do 4 years, and then they so basically it's just done right, is what I sort of learned and why I fell in love with these guys that have been doing it.
And I think I drank a couple of glasses, and I don't drink and drive, so that was tough for me because I really wanted to, but we had to be somewhere else too. Yeah. So that was a tough one.
It's really good.
But back to my story before you interrupted me with this tequila thing. So I always wanted a Lamborghini, and I've always said, I didn't have a Lamborghini. So I went and bought a Lamborghini Urus. I don't even know how to say it, if it's Urus or Urus. And it's a black. And so I thought, oh, you know what? I have a buddy. I'll wrap it, because I don't like the shiny. So I did like a flat black. And somewhere in there, I was like, oh, it's got yellow brake calipers. Let's put some yellow stripes on it, and some other fucking yellow here. And so he calls me. He's like, hey, the car's done. It looks beautiful, and it's right down here where he did it. And so I go, and I'm just like, I'm all excited. Like, yeah, that looks badass. That looks this, that's it. And then, what do you think? He's like, oh man, it looks good. He's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I like it. And he did something that, I don't know. I thought it looked like fucking Spider-Man threw up a yellow spider on the back of the car. And in my mind, that was I thinking, but then he kept going, no, dude, I thought this would look good. And then as I left, I always had this feeling like it just wasn't right, as stupid as it sounds. Yeah. But this is where I get to getting opinions from people. So with my wife, I go, what do you think? And she's like, well, do you like it? Well, that's all that matters. And I go, okay, I'm fucked. Like I already know, so I'm not asking her
going
anymore.
down the wrong path.
And then I justify by going, she don't even fucking care about cars or any of that stuff. So whatever. So then I ask somebody else, oh, dude, it looks bad. That looks good. You like it? I'm like, yeah. And then I'd say, you know what? I'm not sure. Oh, no, it looks good. You like it? And this went on for 2 weeks. And I'd walk outside and I'd look at it and I would be like, God, I don't know. And then I'd ask somebody else, what do you think of that? I literally found myself asking a stranger. Right. I was in an Albertsons parking lot, and the guy's like, dude, that car is badass. I go, what do you think of the yellow? He's like, do you like it? This is the truth. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, that's all that matters. And that was fucking day. That was the day that I called my buddy Steve up, and I said, take the fucking yellow. Some fucking guy just in Albertson's parking lot.
He sold that was
it. I was done. I'm like,
meanwhile, Vivian's like, I told you.
No, so this is the greatest part. So then I pulled up somewhere, and I don't know if it was my son or somebody, and I don't remember. It started happening like all within like 4 or 5 days. People would see the car, and they're like, oh, you took the yellow off. Yeah, they're like, God, I thought that looked like shit. Yeah. Didn't I ask you? It's like, yeah, but I just didn't want to hurt your feelings because you said you liked it. I said, I was asking you for your opinion. Yeah.
Like, was it a stripe?
It's tough to get opinions. It's tough to get honest opinions.
I'll send you these pictures you can have in there but you're asking for an honest opinion. Yeah. And I'm really good at that. Like if there's anything that you ever have that you're like, is this right or is this wrong? I'm that guy because I will tell you if it's something like I will go buy this. It's not even a question. You know what I mean? And if I didn't, I would tell you like, dude, I didn't think it was that great. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? You might walk away and go, I'll never fucking talk to that guy again.
No,
but I don't think I'm a big enough connoisseur of sipping tequila, to be honest with you. But I think I've had enough of it to know what's good, typically right before I pass out. You're like, no.
This was not good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But all I can say, honestly, and I don't remember which one, I didn't have the light. I think we were over here.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what we had. Yeah, but regardless, I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Spot on. So obviously, now you just got back from Aspen. You were doing a some stuff over in Colorado with it.
Yeah, it's launching in Colorado now. Yeah, for me, I've been sipping tequila for a while, and so there's a lot of tequila brands out there, and to be competing with the best, you have to really show up now because they've been doing it a lot longer. So I really spent the time to make sure the taste was there.
And that, once again, it's almost like I don't want to say it's sweet, but it is.
Yeah,
it has like this really good flavor.
That's
okay. I'm not good enough to like fucking give you the
what
terms
tasting
of it.
Notes are you?
Yeah, what I'm tasting is I'm tasting the piña.
So so basically, what happens is the agave, it takes 7 years to ripen perfectly, like a fruit.
Right.
And a lot of times you're tasting brands that don't let it ripe, and then they're shortcutting it.
Right.
Or they're mixing different harvests and trying to get one taste, so they need to add blue agave syrup and all these other things. We don't need to do that. And so it's one harvest, one field, and so we just know exactly how it's growing and done. And so
when you do something like this, you go, because obviously you've had a lot of experience in drinking tequila. And then you just kind of at one point go, wow, like I could do something with this. And you like, you're humble about it because this isn't like, fucking Taylor Steele surf this, and this. Like, you're just like, dude, try this tequila. It's, you know what I mean?
I think going back to what we talked about before, if you're going to do something, for me, there's a lot of different routes I could go. I could do films full time, or I could do something else. I really fell in love with this whole process of, of tequila. It's very similar to vineyards for wine.
Right.
There's a whole process that I fell in love with. And then just the idea of what it could stand for. A lot of times we don't have this opportunity to really slow down and decompress from work.
Right.
We're just in our heads all day long, and even at home with COVID, we're just like at home.
Even worse.
It's worse because there's no defined place of separation. So the idea of this being when you grab the bottle and you pour it and you're sort of treating it like that, maybe it's like in Asia where they do tea and that whole
you're not sitting down to fucking get schnocked. Like, this is an experience.
It's supposed to be an experience,
right?
And maybe setting you into a different mindset. That's a better mindset.
And I think something that's important to understand is when you take people and like yourself that have traveled literally all over this globe and has spent their life on planes, in jungles, on boats, and I'm not that far onto it, but I travel a ton as well. The world shut down. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that don't travel don't understand what that's like because they don't travel, because they're good with just, in the hometown, going to work, coming home, they're good with that. So they've geared themselves to that. And then you have people like yourself that have been like, I've got my sleeve of my next trips lined up here, and this is where I'm going, and that gets shut off.
Yeah.
It's it's a very tough place to be, and I can tell you because, once again, myself traveling, quite a bit, and then shut off. It was a real tough place for us to be. That's why we went and bought a house in Lake Havasu, because it gives us that we still get that feeling that we're going somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I bought an airplane.
Yeah.
So I have that freedom again.
Yeah.
That's God's honest truth. And I think I just realized that right now.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people are discovering America, US now. They're buying Sprinters and doing these road trips.
Yeah.
And they're sort of treating it in a different way. I haven't even done that much of that. And so for me, I'm almost treating my hometown in trying to rediscover different parts of it that I've never seen before. So, it's all sort of that mental side of how we, handle these new, constrictions. But, for me, going back to Solento, it's sort of, you know, if you're going to take that ritual and slow down from this crazy day of work where you're stressed and you're doing too many Zoom calls, reward yourself with something nice.
Right.
You know, like have it be a premium experience when you get there.
Right.
And so it's not just, you know, a cheap tequila shot and poof, like, you know, like it's
slow down. You're gonna get there.
The idea is like, okay,
but you don't need to be blasted.
The idea is like even pouring it, holding the bottle, the whole thing.
Yeah. Once again, I mean, this is.
It should be part of that process. It allows you to get in that different mind space.
Right.
You know, so for me, that's what helps. Yeah.
So the name.
Yeah, it means slow sun. And I like the idea of like these agaves sitting in the Mexican sun over years and years. And
7 years.
7 years. But it's also like that slow sun of maybe it's at sunset time where it feels like it's just slowing down,
right.
or it's just, you know, slowed.
I think it's telling everybody to slow down a little bit.
That's the idea. Yeah.
And once again, on your part, which came from a fast paced, you know, world in kind of a slow paced time in some ways.
Yep.
It's probably more important now to understand that. And I think that's longevity. You know, when you get to that point, you've been driving and now it's time to like you can still do what you're doing, but slow down and just enjoy, you know, some of that. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned about COVID.
Yeah. You know, for me, like we've all been forced to slow down. And so now it's like when we hopefully are like analyzing how we did spend our time before and how we wasted it maybe on our phone too much, or we would get together with friends and we wouldn't really appreciate them as much as we could.
Right.
And so now it's like, okay, when we do get to go back into the wild, how are we going to be improved from this experience? And like treat our close friends with more attention and more, you know,
right.
And ourselves, like, and reward ourselves for our time as well.
And I think that's the type of person that understands how to take a negative to a positive. You know, once again, this is a tough time for everybody. Traveling has been halted. I think we're kind of halted again in some ways. But when it does open up, I think it's going to be like, it's almost like going to be so much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we don't know. It's like that thing. Like we don't know when it's going to open up, but when it does, I think, like you said, our intentions are going to be a lot more clear. And once again, like you said, we find ourselves now for us and for myself in that way where when I do go, you know, to Havasu or where we're going, you find yourself like this will be plentiful in our house over there. Because for the first time, like I get up in the mornings and I have a sun deck outside that overlooks the lake and, you know, and the sun, you know, coming, and it's like, I've found myself actually doing things that I've never done in the past 30 years where it's just literally taking time because you're just grinding all the time. And then it's like when we did have a snowboard trip or whatever, you know, fucking pace. Just go. How many runs can we get? You know, how many this, and then get back and you just do what you're doing. Then you get up in the morning and you grind it again and again. And whereas now I'm finding myself, and it's not because I'm getting old. I think it's maybe just, you know, starting to realize that, not that COVID is a bad thing, but I think that there has to be a way for all of us to understand a little bit deeper of what's happening with it and how it's transforming and understanding. People don't have to be in high-rise buildings. They've figured out.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean? So what is that going to do for people in longevity where you're not sitting in a fucking cubicle all day when you find out now you can do the same thing from anywhere in the world? That's what big companies are starting to find out.
Yeah. You know, there's so many for how negative a thing is and how there's going to be a lot of like changes from it. And there's going to be a lot of positive changes, negative as well. But I like to focus on the positive. And so the way we work will be improved. The way we spend our time hopefully is improved. I heard a great quote from Jerry Lopez, this legendary surfer.
Fuck it. And how did Lopez come into this? Because I snowboarded with him up in Oregon.
Yeah, so he described COVID as a set of waves crashing on everybody. So the set of waves crashed and we're all just going, you know, basically in the turbulence. And then after a set, there's going to be a lull. and we're going to come through that to this lull. And so basically we're in the turbulence now, and we're all dealing with it in our own way. But afterwards, we're going to have this lull, and we're going to, he didn't say this, but I interpreted that as a great metaphor for it. And afterwards, we're going to realize that we could fight through this, and we're going to have this confidence from it and be connected from that experience.
And I mean, so you're friends with Jerry?
He's a hero of mine, but I met him enough times, but he's a legend.
Yeah. Amazing snowboarder.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah.
No?
I know he snowboards, but
I actually ran into him at a place in Mount Hood.
Yeah.
And they ended up on a lift with him. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And the guy just fucking, the way he surfs, just soul surfing, it's the same
his
thing.
His whole spirit is
it's
that
the
way.
same thing
Yeah.
on a snowboard. Yeah. Like, you will never find anybody that carves, just fluent the way that guy does. He's not out there to fucking throw any big tricks or anything like that. He literally just he uses up the whole mountain, man.
So
he's just one side down to the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger part of this is that. And have you ever backtracked? Like, I've only done this a couple of times, and I kind of was doing it thinking about this and like how you meet somebody. And whether it's a friend, or whether it's, somebody that you look up to in that way or whatever. And in this case, and I'm not here to make Tommy feel bad, but this wouldn't be taking place if something didn't happen early on. And I can backtrack this really quick for you to understand. So I was getting married in the Bahamas. Tommy, I'm not. You can look at me.
It's all good.
This is
Wait,
so
I just added it.
I'm just joking. You better not fucking edit this out. So we're getting married in the Bahamas, and the COVID shit, takes place, and we've got this thing set up. And Tommy and these guys we were bringing them all down to do the drone, all the filming and the still shots and the whole deal. And to say the least, last minute they all fucking backed out. Literally, what was it? 3 weeks? Yeah, it was 2 to 3.
Like a month.
No, he's going to stretch this one. Trust me. I'll get Viv on this one. So which was totally surprised, like everything what we were dealing with, COVID tests, like all this stuff going on. And we had 30 people that went down, for the wedding. Last minute, the heart of the whole thing drops out. Literally, I told this guy to go fuck himself. I went home and, and I told Viv, and literally she fucking just started bawling.
Yeah. It's a lot of stress before the wedding.
Yes. I went back and told him to go fuck himself again, basically. And just hang tight. Don't get all, this guy gets worked up quick. So then what happens is he's trying to play fucking Band-Aid on a jugular that's been cut. And we knew that PD was doing work for HVGC here, and that whole thing was taking place. So immediately Viv starts calling around and starts trying to find anybody. There's nobody in the Bahamas. There's nobody anywhere. She's talking to people in Philadelphia to try to do video. I mean, anything that she can get. And I'm getting more and more and more pissed off. You know what I mean? It was getting bad. And then I get a call from PD. And he's just like, bro, what do you need? What do you got? I'm like, dude, I can't afford you. He's like, well, you got to afford something. It's not going to be cheap either way. And I said, I know, but he's like, let me just put something together for you. He immediately gets on the phone. He gets Donald. He gets Greg. And he calls me back and he gives me a price. And I was like, fuck, it was a lot of money. But then I'm looking at my wife over there and, and it was shambles. And she, and I said, at this point, there's no reason to squabble over this. Like, you just got to suck it up and just go. I had no idea as far as PD, what they did, the capabilities and this and that, and PD's like, this is it. And he called me back later. And he's like, I talked to the guys and we're all willing to do it for this. And I was just like, done. Yeah. Those guys got down there and you'll see, did fucking just an amazing job. And I was a dick about it, I'll be honest with you, because I was so happy that was handled. And those guys, they took everything out of our hands. Like literally, we didn't think about anything. They handled the whole thing. So going back to that, had Tommy not dicked out on me, you wouldn't be sitting here. Because PD also is the one that brought that side together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, it's just a quick backtrack, but I mean, it's
Well,
crazy how stuff like that happens because, for me, if I would have met you and you would have been a dick, I would have never, whatever. I've met people that I was just like, wow, this is an interesting person. I've watched this and this and that, and I've met him and I'm just like, what a dick. You know what I mean? I met Mike Tyson and I thought that guy would have been the biggest dick. I was in Vegas. He literally pulled me aside and fucking had a conversation with him. And there was like everybody and anybody, and he didn't even care. And I was just like, wow, like this isn't the fucking guy that I visualized all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think that you would ever be a dick, but just the fact, like when you start to really look at how things happen, you know what I mean? You kind of go back into these things and wonder, like, was it already set up?
Well, I think that's a great point for, everybody to sort of think about is like sometimes the worst things end up to be the best things for the long run. And so, it could be, a divorce or COVID or something. And then the growth that you have from these negative times are actually the most powerful and biggest growth from dealing with that time. And, that change is what keeps us young. And so
I think so.
And so the journey, you can't like discredit the journey sometimes.
Well, sometimes I think people shut off to those things when the things are there. You know what I mean? I just said, cheers, Tommy. I still love you. You know what? I told you it takes a little while. I'll get there. So I just think there's a lot of, cool things. And I started living my life like that about 15 years ago in just really understanding how people come into your life and who's important, who's not, and really having, like you said, the intentions. You know what I mean? Like that has been really important. And on PD's side, he's been a guy that I can honestly say that has taken me to a different level of friendship in that way. Because that guy he's solid.
Yeah.
He's just, and that's why I almost feel like I need to kind of bodyguard him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
In some way, and the greatest thing about that, especially that night, is you see that with all his friends.
Yes. Yeah.
So
PD's been that sort of like kind-hearted person since I've known him, since he was 15. And he just wants to help everybody.
Yep.
And that sort of energy, like people then return that favor. So it's like that karmic sort of positive energy brings positive back. So
how many things have you, not that you can remember how many times, but, being in your position, people, you got to check this out. There's always something, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that I'd just be like, it's cool. I'm not going to be able to make it. Yeah. Petey's that guy that no matter what is going on, I won't, he's like, no, George, if you don't want to, I get it. This, that, dude, whatever you need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've had that as well. People invest in this and do this and do this. And in the end, I'll make my own decisions. Yeah. But on the same, Petey's one of those guys that I don't, if he called me up and said, hey, meet me in Hawaii next week, I'll be over there, for whatever it is. And he's just so genuine. Totally. So I think there's a lot of credit that goes to Tommy for us being able to have this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Tommy.
You're welcome.
Did you, he kind of snickered a little bit. Like how do you take that? And then the fact that we get this, I mean,
yeah.
And so the way that you're doing this, for me mentally, it takes me back to when your first video came out and you were fucking driving around peddling your video. you were just over in Aspen,
Yeah.
showing this off, and
Totally.
does it give you that energy again?
Yeah, like maybe I miss something tangible, like because videos are now like something you process on your phone or your computer, and you don't hold the VHS part of it anymore. Or
That's
the
true, huh?
DVD. So I do like the idea of, like when my first movies came out, people would get all their friends together and they put the DVD in the TV and they'd all sit together and watch it and then talk about it afterwards.
Right.
It has that same sort of energy. You get the tequila and you all sit together and have a meal and just catch up. So hopefully it has that same energy. Like that's what I'm drawn to on it all.
Are you doing tastings and stuff? Have you got into that?
We were before COVID sort of happened. So that was a fun way to sort of connect with people. But we had to pivot from the bars and restaurants to the home delivery part of it. And like that's, if people are experiencing it at their home, that's sort of where we wanted to end up anyways.
Right.
So it's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Taylor, let me know if you need someone to shoot your tequila. Okay. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Ask a videographer.
I'll give you Petey's number if you don't have it. Do you see how he plugged himself in there real quick?
No, he's like, this guy's a filmmaker. I'm just joking. He's probably get the fuck out of here.
He's still he's stretching it though. Whatever he can do.
No.
Let me know. Well, yeah. Let me know if you have anybody that needs to shoot a wedding. I know somebody that won't. Just kidding, Tommy. What else do we have? I mean, other than this, it's.
Yeah. That's sort of what I'm doing now. Just that and National Geographic stuff is sort of where my day.
Just, tequila and National Geographic. Just your normal shit. What are you doing? I was thinking about going to Albertsons. Are you surfing?
I am.
Are you getting in the water?
I surf, pretty much every day. It's been a great winter, and it was, like when COVID hit, like I haven't really not traveled, for a long, like I travel every sort of couple weeks,
right?
And so when that stopped, it was stressful on that side. But then they closed the beaches, and it was like red tide, onshore winds, and it was just disgusting. And the beaches were empty, and it was like I really felt my sort of love for surfing being like stolen from me. That like I couldn't do it, and I was like, who am I? And so. Now that you could surf,
it was just a brief moment.
It was brief.
It was very brief.
I felt every hour.
But I can tell you, we have a lot of guys that surf here, and our guy in here, he's gonna say hi for sure. He's buddies with Sprung Monkey and
cool.
Whatever that is, and just trust me on this. When you do talk to him, don't feel bad if you go, dude. All right, I gotta go. Like enough. Because this guy, we have on Monday meetings, and it's just like, fuck, dude. Okay, whoa, shit. Here we are. We're at him. You know what I mean? He has the most energy. Am I wrong?
He does.
Like this guy.
I love it.
Has the most energy of anybody I've met in a long time. Yeah. That literally, I think he drains it from everybody. Like there's got to be like a superhero or a villain somewhere that it drains you, for their energy. Because I don't know where he gets it. Monday I can watch everybody. Troy's just like, he's like, I did fucking this and this and this. And everybody around just kind of like, they look like they're in a room of gorillas.
Well, there's introverts and extroverts. Extroverts get energy from people, and introverts like use it all up, and then they get drained. So I'm on that side.
I don't know. I don't know where he's at, but it's a human vacuum. No, super nice guy, but look at a picture. You don't even like to look at it, do you? No. Well, with that being said, man, once again, I got to thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
It was super fun. Look forward to seeing you again for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about some other stuff with tastings and stuff like that. I'm super excited about. Taylor, listen, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
This was great.
For giving me this time and giving us the time.
Anytime.
The fucking tequila is amazing.
Thank you.
And once again, anybody in this room will tell you. I'll tell you
Thank
different
you.
if it was.
I'm proud.
It's really
not
good.
That means too much, but.
Yeah.
But do you like it too? I'm just joking.
Oh fuck!
No, it's really good.
So now you've met the real Tommy.
Yeah, I don't need any filmers.
Oh, he's right on.
I already knew that. Man. Trust me.
Joking.
What's that? Oh. So once again, thank you. I appreciate it. This is amazing. The tequila's amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And dude, I always look forward to when I meet somebody like this to see what's next and to be a part of understanding where you're going is super.
Yeah. Super
jealous that yesterday you were in Aspen snowboarding. I thought that was a dick move to post you.
It wasn't my idea.
Yeah. No, but you didn't hesitate. And no, but that is really cool. So congratulations on this.
Thank you.
And obviously you're organically doing this, which is badass. But where do you go for this? That's
it's pretty much you could nationwide you could order it at Sip Tequila, or locally it's like Bristol Farms, Whole Foods, Total Wine, Bevmo. So pretty much most places.
This is so casual about it, it's like, oh yeah, you can hear it. But honestly, getting into the tequila world is like walking into the vape world in my industry. Yeah. People look at you and they go, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? I do that with people. I welcome everybody. We help, but it's just such a the vape market is so competitive. There's 280 vape companies in California.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just broke number 8 or 7. It's crazy. And when people come, I've had people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start a vape company. It's like, dude, like I can see in your eye, like you don't have.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to shit on anybody's dreams. However, if I can help you, I'll help you. The same thing with tequila.
Yeah. There's probably more. There's probably 500 tequila brands.
Yeah.
And I think the lesson that I learned when I started filmmaking, they were like, don't go in, it's too tough a competitive world.
Right.
Don't do it.
Kid with a fucking VHS.
Yeah.
And we're talking the VHS.
Everybody had the big, so, my thing is like quality will win out in the end,
Yep.
that'll hold, and just like come in authentic and be true to what your passion is. So, this is my passion. So I'm like 100% in on it.
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is,
So,
and the great thing is that time in your life where you can do that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, to be able to get your 100% and your passion into something like this.
Yeah.
It's the only way it's going to go.
It's going to be fun. Like films are coming for it, and just a whole bunch of creative stuff's coming too. So it's going to be fun.
I guarantee you Tommy's not on that one. He's not on that fucking list for filmmakers. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, once again, cheers. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything. Guys, like and subscribe. It's the only way we can get this thing to go. And we got to sell some tequila. Right?
For sure.
Yeah, thanks.
So anyways, PV Unfiltered, peace. Thank you. Adios.